Hey everyone, we are just getting started. This is the day 4 of NPM launch week, and welcome everybody. This is our live stream. I love that I had the YouTube open, so I just started hearing my own voice play. I'm like, what is that? But yeah, this is just so everyone knows, this is an experiment. We are just seeing what it's like to start to give us another channel to talk about our release notes and just not just like our npm or CLI stuff, but also other updates that are related to Deno, such as our new landing page, our updated documentation, and things like that. So we are just about to get started, and thank you for joining us. I see there's people in the chat, and we will get started as soon as I play this one thing. How cool is that? How cool is that? Big shout out to Hashrock for making all these things for us. So to kick us off today, we have David, who's been working a ton on the npm compat stuff, and he's going to be talking about the big 128 release, which he's had a huge impact on, as well as give a demo about using npm and Deno. So yeah, David, how's everything going?
Yeah, pretty good. How have you been, Andy?
Good. We were just chatting for the past 20 minutes, so not much else to add there.
Yeah.
But for viewers, this has been an exciting week. We launched, we stabilized npm compatibility, which is like a huge deal. And from our feedback on Twitter and Discord, it seems like people have been receiving it positively. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's the big thing is that, yeah, this is the way that we're going to go forward with reaching into npm packages. So I guess maybe we can start with what are npm specifiers? So I'll just share my screen. So share my screen.
Yeah, I think some people have been asking like, why was the specifier? Why is that the approach that we took?
Right. Yeah. So I'll just explain quickly what npm specifiers are. So basically, they're a way to import npm packages in Deno, where you specify npm colon and then the package name here, and then you can do a version requirement after an at sign. So the reason why we went with this way is because we basically have a portal into the npm ecosystem by doing it this way. Since it's an import, we can kind of run those npm packages. You have the Deno code executing, and then you have the node npm packages executing. And the reason why that's important is in Node, there's different kinds of globals. So, for example, there's set timeout in Node. I can just show here.
You got me interested when you said portals. I love portals.
Yeah. Like in Node, when you do a set timeout, it returns this timeout object, which in Deno, it returns a number, which is kind of this is the way it's done on the web.
Huh.
So if we kind of need this portal into the Node ecosystem to, this is a big reason. So we don't have these like code in Node that uses set timeout will work, and then code in Deno that uses this set timeout would work. That's a small reason. It's also just a way we don't have to bring CommonJS into Deno. We can kind of keep it isolated over with the Node code. So Deno users, they only have to deal with ESM. They don't have to worry about configuring, this file should be ESM, this should be CommonJS.
That's
that
great.
has to go on in the Node ecosystem. So
that's huge. Just preserving the like the modern approach with the ESM imports and stuff. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah,
Yeah,
from
and
previous specifiers.
another big reason is instead, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, you can use a transpile server. So the idea behind there is you take an npm package, you transpile it to ESM, and then you run it through in Deno, and that works a lot in a lot of cases. And uh, the issue though is some packages expect um, it has like data files in the package, or it can expect like a certain folder structure, like a node modules folder to exist. And so by doing it this way, we can offer more compatibility with those packages, and things like synchronous requires can happen exactly where they happen, rather than having to always import that ahead of time with that would have to happen with in ES modules. So yeah, that's another
That's
big
great.
reason as well.
That's great. Yeah. And I think this is in our Slack, but it looks like Node was also trying to add npm specifiers to their imports. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. So that might be a interesting idea for Node to do as well. The kind of benefit that you get with by having this, like the npm specifiers in line, is that you can have a single file that describes all your dependencies, and you can distribute that as a standalone file. And it's this kind of idea of dependencies expressed in code, which can be really powerful. But if you don't want that, then you can put it in an import map and map things like chalk in an import map in a specifier to the full npm chalk at the version requirement. So I'll get more into this in the future and
Sure.
show off how that works. But so if you didn't understand what I said there, just keep watching and I'll show a demo later. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and we also have like the ability to Deno run. We're just going to allow everything for this. I'll say hello. Just install all the packages and then output that. So yeah, this is basically a way to run binary npm packages right on the command line without having to install them globally.
That's awesome. Yeah. So even like npm command line commands, we can run that using that specifier in the command line,
Yep.
which is great because then we can do things with like create feat and things like that. So there are a lot of applications for this.
Yeah. So that's basically a very high level overview of npm specifiers. I'm wondering for next, maybe I can show installing and setting up Deno in VS Code, and
Yeah.
then, or do you have any other questions specifically about npm specifiers?
I think people, from what I read on Twitter and Discord, I think a lot of people are curious about the benefits of not having packaged JSON, or like why is it cool that we don't have a separate npm install step?
All right. So for like specifically on package JSON, so we do have sort of an analog to that, which is import maps, but it's optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. It can be really helpful using it because it allows you to map like bare specifiers to a specific package with a version requirement, as you can do in package JSON files. Uh, so it's more, yeah, what I was talking about with like dependencies expressed in code. You have that option to just distribute your like kind of like modules, and that's it. There's not another file you have to tag along in there, but you still have the option to, yeah, fall back to an import map. Uh, what was the other question you asked?
Yeah. So about the package.json, it's really about the flexibility of having the code be as portable as possible in Deno, which I think is huge because Deno's like web compatible, trying to be as adhere to standards and stuff, and giving developers the option of like adding an import map or just keeping everything in the code themselves.
Yeah.
And the other question I had to that was, who cares? No separate npm install. Like, who cares? Why?
Right. Yeah. So we actually do have you can do a separate npm install if you want to, which is the Deno cache command. So you can run Deno cache and then uh, the module name that you want to cache all the specifiers in, and that, in a sense, can act like an explicit install command. Uh, right now, we I'll talk about that actually after. Um, so the benefit though of just like on Deno run that it installs is first it starts up, it checks all your npm specifiers. If there's a package that's not around, it will install that for you right away, and that's just it's a lot easier because you don't have to like remember, oh, like npm install this, or like you change a dependency and now you have to remember, okay, yeah, I have to install again, or you pull in some new code and the dependencies have changed, you forgot to install, and like Deno just handles that for you. If it's not installed, it will install it right there. Something I forgot to mention about npm specifiers is just that it operates off of a global cache. So all of your dependencies end up in a single place in this global cache. So if you have multiple projects using the same version of a dependency, it will share that same folder. Uh, but you can also opt in to, right now we have a node modules dir flag that you can specify, and that will create a node modules folder. And that's for greater compatibility. Some packages just expect there to be a node modules folder. And so if you run into issues with any packages, you can say, okay, like create a node modules folder. We'd like for packages in the future to uh, like improve themselves to not have to rely on that pattern. But for now, yeah, we have uh, that available. On post install scripts, right now, Deno does not run post install scripts, but in the future, we may, when you use a local node modules directory, we may run those with a prompt, or we're not exactly sure how that's going to look like, but for now, it doesn't run any post install scripts.
Man, it seems like having to support npm is just like having to support all sorts of wild paths of like using node modules.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's quite a lot of edge cases.
totally. Awesome. Yeah, I mean that's really interesting, and it's good to have that context of like why we made the decisions we made. Um, yeah, we can go into the next section. Do you want to jump into like a demo of setting up VS Code or
Yeah,
using
so
Deno?
I'll just share my screen again.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. All right. So yeah, the first thing, just getting set up with Deno, is going to deno.land and then following the instructions for installing. So for example, I'm on Windows right now, so I would run that in PowerShell, or run Chocolatey, uh, or Scoop, I guess. Uh, but on Mac you can run brew install. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of different ways to install here. So you would just install for your operating system. And the next thing is, we recommend using VS Code. You don't have to, and works with IntelliJ uh, and a few other code editors. But for VS Code, which is what I use, there's the Deno extension that needs to be installed. So you would just install that. Um, so you might have to restart VS Code after all that's set up to make sure that because it sets some environment variables, so you just want to make sure everything gets refreshed with the so that Deno's available on the path. Like if you here, it should show up there. So I just have this basically empty folder. Right now I have a mod.ts, and right now this is not like Deno is not in here and running. So I actually have to, my case I'm pressing F1 and initialize workspace configuration. And I'm going to disable linting for this example. And now what that's done, it's created this VS Code settings.json, and it's basically enabled Deno for this workspace. So now if I go here and Deno, I have the Deno namespace available. So I'll just show npm specifiers. So there's import, let's do chalk from npm chalk. So chalk is a way to, it's a very popular npm package, and basically what it does is I can go chalk green. You can basically do terminal styling with it. So let's do hello. So what I'll do is I'll get this string with all the terminal, I forget what they're called, this sequence characters that will, when I go Deno run, yes. So actually let me just get, one thing you'll find with npm packages is they request a lot of permissions, and a lot of that just has to do with, in Node, it's very common to just request a lot of different paths. So right now it's trying to get the executable path that Deno's being run from. So I'm just going to allow that. And then it wants access to the main module. So it wants to know what this file is called, like where that is. And then it wants to get access to these environment variables, which I'll just allow. And then it wants to know what operating system I'm running in, which I'll let it. So that outputs finally hello in green. If I didn't want that, I could also bypass it by like maybe allow environment to allow read as well. Okay, so then allow this. So that's one way that I could just approve all those permissions up at front. I could also do like allow all to just allow it to execute with all permissions. But anyway, I'll just keep that command for now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the opt-in permissions is like one of the things that makes Deno secure by default. You have to be aware of like what your packages have access to and stuff. So I think that's really important. And you can also set the specific. You can also like pass specific things to those flags, right?
Yeah, like I could say, like what was an example of one of these? So like force color. So I could say force color. And now I'm only getting, because so it allowed force color. So it granted access to that, but then it requested term. So now it's asking me again. So, but then now I could go here and I could say, okay, I want to give you access to term as well. And now that works. So yeah, you can, even with like reading, you can do just allow the current directory. So now it wants the exec path and the main module, which are reading beyond, I guess, the current working directory, or like those aren't included in those permissions. So yeah, there's stuff like that you can do.
That's awesome. I'm just looking at our chat real quick. First off, there's someone who's ecstatic that they're seeing Deno used in a Windows environment. So,
Yeah, my main programming I'm like mostly actually a C sharp developer. So I like in the past up until about 2 years ago. So yeah, Windows was my main development platform. I really like programming on Windows. WSL is great nowadays, and I think it's a good development environment. But yeah, this is actually my laptop computer. This I don't do most of my programming on this computer.
Yeah, this is just your video call computer,
Yeah, this is my
right?
video call computer. It's a bit slow, this one.
um, Someone is asking, can you add allow flags to a file? And I'm guessing that means like in the script itself.
I know on like Linux and Mac, you can do the what has it been sh. I'm doing this wrong probably, but you could actually like take this. I think you need like I forget the exact command.
Sure, but like adding it to the top as
Yeah, it
like
would be
a
something. It's something like this. It's in the docs, and then
right.
this won't work on Windows, which is why it's not that portable. But then you just do like mod.ts, and that would you have the chmod
Hmm.
script first. But uh, yeah, so I so I forget. I think there's like supposed to be like some I don't know
Right.
something. I can't remember. If you're curious in that, just Google it. There's a
Yeah.
way to.
We'll leave a link to that in the comments in the documentation because I do remember we do have a link to that.
Oh, okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and then also someone is asking without running it without like the flags, like how else would we have known if there was like a we needed the allow read to the exec path and stuff?
Well, if you run without any flags, then you're going to get all the prompts for everything, so you can see, and
Hmm.
then that can help inform you which flags you need. You might end up in some scenarios like an application might be running and then later on it requests permissions to something else. So there's also like I think it's no prompt, and that will just by that will like do an error when something tries to. It'll throw an error when if something tries to do something it doesn't have permissions for. So I think it prompts by default if there's if this is a terminal like a TTY, but then otherwise uh, it will have no prompt as default behavior if you're not in one of those, like if you don't have a terminal open.
Yeah, that's great. That's good to know. Yeah, very cool. Um,
Yeah. So one thing I can show here is when you specify these npm :choc, uh, this is basically like as if you had like a package JSON. So imagine this is package JSON dependencies. All doesn't matter. So you do choc. That is essentially the same as doing this in a package JSON, which is, let me just comment this out, which is not really ideal. Like you don't, when you write a package JSON, you don't do this. So what I would recommend doing instead is, specifying a version requirement here. So I know the latest version of Chalk is version 5. So that's one way. This would be equivalent to, doing 5 um, in a package JSON. You could also specify like, even though this is equivalent to what I just did, you can do stuff like put a caret here so that, so I forget if there's a 5.1. I guess there is. Let me look. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
5.1. So this is one way that that's equivalent again to just doing 5.1 in here. So you're going to pull in minor versions greater than 5.1 or greater than or equal. Um, so I'd recommend whenever you use an npm specifier to also do this. We're going to probably in the future add a lint rule, or even like in the LSP give some information Yeah, you can. You'll get errors if you don't do that, or like warnings, like a lint warning. And also in the future, like right now, if you just type this, it's giving me this because it sees chalk here. But like say I was importing TypeScript, like it's not giving me anything here. In the future, we'll have registry completions from npm, so that you don't have to. Um, it'll be easier to type because right now, like just typing this, you have to go look. Okay, what is the package I need? And also like what version do I have to specify here?
Yeah, I think that's going to be really helpful. Because recently we did add support for searching the Deno land/x registry, and that's like been so helpful to be able to just like know what version for what module you want to add and things like that. So definitely adding the npm registry to the LSP is going to be very helpful there.
Yeah, and one thing I'll just show off here. So I can like Deno info mod.ts, and I can see all the packages that are being used. So I see here I have my file mod.ts, and then it imports this specifier, which resolves to this 5.1.2 version. And also, like, say I were to import chalk version 4. So I run that again. Chalk 5 inlines its dependencies, but now I see, oh, these are all the dependencies of this import that I had here, and it shows me the sizes of everything. In this case, it's nice and small, but some packages might be quite large. I think here, oh, it actually worked. Let me. Oh, I guess chalk 4 distributes its types.
Yeah, I
Well,
think.
here, this is an example I was going to give. So,
Okay, cool.
like, say express. Um, so right now it's giving me an error because it's not cached. So I'm going to press F1, cache dependencies, and that just installed it. But here, express, there's no type declarations for it. So what we have to do is add this Deno types directive, and then I'll import for npm types express. And now it's saying that this is uncached, so I'm just going to cache that. You could also right click and cache it. But so now express, okay, const app. I'm getting auto completion now on this. So the reason why I had to do that is because express, this npm package, doesn't distribute its types, but the types are available in this types package. So this Deno types basically tells Deno, okay, for this import, use these types for it. So that's how you can make packages work that don't distribute their TypeScript types.
That's great. I love that. Is there a naming convention for like the at type/module name, or is that something that you just have to go to npm express to find?
So I think actually on npm's website, it will say up here, this package has TypeScript declarations provided by types. Oh, that's really small. Sorry about that. Anyways, it says this package has type declarations provided by at types express, and I think if I click on it, that will bring me to the package. So you can kind of uh, get to know what's what by doing that. Let's see what version this is. So yeah, in some cases like this is 4.18 is the latest, but the types are 4.17. That's because they haven't done an update for those types. So it's, if you're putting a version requirement here, you could do 4.17, 4.18, and it's probably going to be okay. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's how you can. It's you kind of run into a lot of the same problems that that you get in the Node ecosystem.
Awesome. That's great.
I can show like a common pain point that you might run into with just basically. I'm not trying to call out this package. It's just one of the examples. So in Deno, because you have this exact same problem in Node with ESM. So Deno is also ESM, and it will import CommonJS packages. And sometimes, like if I go to this CommonJS declaration, this CommonJS package, which is, so this is like an example of the being in the global cache, is sometimes like packages will say, oh, I have a default export. And if this was a CommonJS that package that actually had a default export, the way to use it would be to do size of dot default, and that's how you would use that default export. Let me just put an object in there to get that. But the problem is if I run this, even though everything's type checking okay, it's going to error because it says size of is not a function, and the reason for that is basically at runtime, it's actually not a function because it's done a module exports, dot exports of this size of function. And basically the type declaration is incorrect. And if I were to, again, run this with a package JSON and have this as a .mjs file, this, or dot whatever the TypeScript equivalent is, I forget, it's slipping my mind. MTS? Yeah, MTS. And yeah, you get the same error. So the way to do this is actually to use this like this, but this will now work. But the problem is if you run this with type checking, it's an error. And what they should have done is done basically declare export equals size of. It really should be an export equals here. And now this will work with type checking, but I don't want to edit a file in the global cache. Actually, one of the things we might do in the future is basically make these files read-only, because you really shouldn't be modifying anything in the global cache. But yeah, a way around this right now is to basically, let's say import, and you can do size of equals size of import as any as type of size of import default. And now this is going to type check. This is kind of getting into the weeds of TypeScript and some of the issues with Node ESM and also now Deno ESM importing CommonJS packages. But so, this is going to work now. Yeah, this is like kind of maybe something people might run into.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, do you have a rough estimation of like how many packages have that sort of mismatched type declaration?
I'm not sure. I know the TypeScript team has been hitting it a lot as well. I think like over time, packages are going to correct themselves. There's a bunch of bugs open in some packages that do this. So hopefully, yeah, in a few years it won't be that much of an issue. But yeah, if you run into
And
that, you kind of have to do something like this,
yeah,
which is really nasty. But
yeah. Is there
it is what
anything
it is right
that
now.
Dino's runtime could do to kind of prevent the end developer to having to
Do this.
yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think if we did, it would kind of be diverging from Node. Maybe there is. It's really hard to analyze CommonJS um, at without like doing this at runtime, and I think it would have to be, and because TypeScript everything's done statically, not at runtime, it might be difficult. There could maybe be, yeah, I'm not sure. There's probably a solution, but
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know that this is something that is out there. So I'm glad we're able to chat about it.
yeah, maybe next what I can show is just like let me just revert this to chalk. Yeah, let's do something a bit more complicated. So another thing we have is like a lock file now by default. So if you have a Deno JSON file, which in here is where you can specify like things like compiler options, formatting options, linting options, tasks to run, uh, and specify an import map. So now if I run this, yeah, so now it's created this lock file by default. And this is pretty important, especially when using npm packages, which use version requirements to specify their dependencies, because you want to know how, so see, we have chalk in here now, and we can see all the dependencies and what they resolve to, as well as it stores the integrity of the package here. So if we run this again on a different computer and it fetches from the npm registry, it will check out this integrity. Yeah, so this is now done by default on load. If we import now like Express, actually
And,
I can just do Deno cache
mhm.
.ts, and I believe that should update the, yeah, now it's updated the lock file again. So now it has Express in here and all of its dependencies. So yeah, that's done now automatically. Previously, like if you have a Deno JSON, previously you would have to use, I think it's the like lock and then specify the file. Oops, it's getting away. And then like lock right. So because it wasn't done by default previously, it was difficult for it didn't really like encourage its use. So now because of npm, we really want to encourage people to use the lock file. So that's another thing that's new in this release.
Yeah, I think that's really important because just making sure that you have the right versions of your dependencies. Um, and then before I would run into some issues with that, and I think yeah, having the auto discovery of the lock file is good there.
Yeah. And so another thing I can show is just like this import map. So, you're kind of used to in the node world. Oh, excuse me. Uh, oop, you just write like chalk here usually, and you don't have your version requirement in there specified. So what you can do now is in this. So I've created this import map file, which I'll get to in a second, but also in this Deno JSON, the import map, and then we'll specify that import map file. And then in this import map, we can add imports, and we will map chalk to npm chalk. And just format that. So that's this is another thing. Like with Deno, you have a built-in formatter and also a built-in linter. So that can be pretty convenient. So anyways, yeah, so then now specify chalk and this import map. And maybe I have to restart the language server. It really should figure that out automatically, but yeah, there we go. Yeah, so now if I do Deno run, use the last options. Yeah, now it worked. So this could be a nice way. You just specify. Sorry, I was sick the past week, so now my voice is
So it's
going.
all good.
Uh, yeah, so you can use just chalk in all your files within your application, and this will map it out. So that's kind of like the package JSON analog.
Hmm. Yeah, I do like the import maps. I think it's a personal preference, really, like how you want your modules to look in your import lines in your code.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's it's really helpful to have that option to be able to have it look like import chalk from chalk. So and
Yeah,
it's also a single place where you can manage your dependencies too.
yeah. Like in Deno, there is this idea of like a deps.ts where you can like export, uh, and then put everything in there, and then basically import from this deps.ts. But yeah, the import map's a little bit more convenient.
We have a question. Someone is asking, can you also move the at types to import map?
Yes, it should work. We can try it.
Yeah, I'm curious too. That's interesting.
I don't think we have a test case for this, actually. Express, I'll just... I think still, like this will still, you won't have typings for this. You still have to say, oh, these types are from here. And now it's working.
Got it.
So you still have to add this Deno type. So yeah, the import map is more, yeah, you still have to be like a little bit more explicit in Deno. And even though there is this types express, it doesn't automatically be like, oh, this is the types for this package. Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Having all the different options for importing dependencies.
Yeah, so another thing I can just show, it relates to the lock file. So we talked previously like about Deno run, npm, was it cow say, and then let's actually get info on that just so we know what version of this package it is. This is 1.5. Yeah, we talked previously about doing this Deno run cow say 1.5. Hello. This asks so many questions. I'm actually...
You think it's a very simple command line
Yeah, like
utility
this,
tool.
it really shouldn't be asking like what the shell is and everything. Anyway, so yeah, we have that, but what we can also do is add a task in here. Do tasks and then cow say. And let's get this format. I think still on. Let's do 2 spaces. All right, so now I can do Deno task cow say hello. And what I've done here is I basically put created an alias to use here, and I can just do Deno task cow say and execute this command. So this can be really good if you have anything in your project that you want to run. If I look in here, actually, it should be, yeah, there's cow say now. It's in the lock file. So any commands you run in here can be stored, and you can run these binary commands from npm, and also it's in the lock file, so you have a bit of safety there compared to just pulling in whatever each time. So yeah, that's that.
That's great. Yeah. The Deno task makes it very simple to just have multiple. You can execute multiple different scripts with different parameters. Makes it very simple.
Yeah, like there's I think like with using Prisma right now, you have to do npm colon Prisma and then do the version requirement each time. So what you could do instead is just put that in in a task, like Prisma.
You put it in the cal say.
Yeah, I almost said that. And then Prisma and then version requirement there. and then you would only have to do Deno task Prisma to run that command. So that can help a lot if you want to alias commands in your repo and allow other developers to be able to execute those easily using a simple command.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one last thing I want to show is this node modules dir command. So like what we talked about before, like this chalk, if I go to the definition of it, you can see that it's in this global cache, and it basically I guess it's in the source. It runs the code in here when you run this. So as you can see, I don't have a node modules folder in here, which is I think quite nice. It's just another thing that like less clutter in here. But sometimes you may want that, or certain packages only run with a node modules folder. So you can do run stir. Let's see what.ts. Usually I actually call these files main.ts, but accidentally just had a mod. So let's just run with everything. Yeah, so what it's done is it's created this node modules directory, and it's run everything in here using this node modules directory.
So how would we know if a package or a module is searching for a local node modules directory? Like, is there a specific error that would somehow indicate that?
Um, it could be a little bit tricky sometimes to know that. Sometimes it could be like what some packages do is they'll do run an npm install within the current directory. So like, for example, you could have this package and it tries to find something, it can't find it, so it runs npm install in your local directory, which it works if you use a node modules um, folder, but then yeah, it might not work uh, without one. So there's not really an easy way to tell.
Yeah, because I've sometimes run into an issue and that, and then just randomly would just throw the node modules dir flag on, and it works. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that could if you find something's not working, that could be a good thing to try. Just another note on this. So this is heavily inspired by PMPM. So these are actually symlinks to this. So for example, like chalk here is a symlink to this folder here. And this is using very similar to PMPM, where you have like a main folder here, and then all your dependencies listed here. And then within each dependency, there's a node modules folder with all of that dependencies here, like that dependencies symlinked. So for example, like chalk, you have chalk in the main source there, but then its dependencies are shown here. So that's how the kind of a deep dive into this node modules folder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know, like in node land, those circular dependencies can be kind of annoying to deal with, especially when you're, having to reconcile versions between things.
Yeah. So this kind of helps with circular dependencies, and yeah.
And I know we recently we added peer dependencies, right?
Yep.
Someone is asking how they work.
Yep. So it works basically with peer dependencies. If you have a package that has peer dependencies similar to npm 7, it started doing it. It would automatically install those peer dependencies if it can't find a peer dependency higher up in the tree. So the way it works is like peer dependency resolution is kind of difficult because um, it depends on where it is in the dependency tree, how that resolves. So you could actually have the same package have different dependencies based on the peer dependencies, based on where they are in that tree. And yeah, Deno handles all of that for you. If you don't use the node module's dir flag, then that will happen behind the scenes, where it resolves things. In some cases, it might need to actually make a copy of a package directory because it has different resolutions, and the same thing happens in Node with with npm in a Node modules directory. If you specify like the Node modules dir flag, then the structure of this folder will also be similar to pmpm. I think there's an article. PM, oh, it was right there. How peers are resolved. And we gained a lot of inspiration for this. And if you really want to go in the details of this, it's kind of complicated, but we do basically the exact same thing with a few minor exceptions. Like we don't use such a long path name because on Windows it has like a 260 character limit for paths. So we didn't do this. We just added like an _1, or like here it would just be foo, and then this would be foo _2 or something like that to try to keep the path low. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into peer dependencies because it's a very complicated thing. But if you're interested, I encourage reading this. But yeah, how we do peer dependencies is similar. We don't have a way to express peer dependencies right now in Deno modules. I guess the way you could do that is by just using a more open specifier in when you're writing like a remote module. For optional peer dependencies, we handle them if they're in npm packages. But right now, we don't have really a way. Like if you're writing some Deno code and you want to check if like that package is around, there's not currently a way to do that, from my knowledge.
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is a complicated subject, and we'll definitely link to that article in the show notes. But yeah, just keeping an eye on time. We are almost at the top of the hour. So yeah, I think we'll just wrap up, and I'll take a few questions. Then we can do something a little fun bit, and then yeah, just going through the chat right now. Is there any way to use private packages from the GitHub npm registry?
Right now, with private packages, no, because you need to specify credentials, and there isn't a way to do that at the moment. That's something we've discussed and would like to get supported. Same with like I think in npm you can have like scoped packages where you say for this scope I actually want to use like a different registry. So say the scope is at I don't know, some name. You can point that at a different registry. We don't have support for that right now. You can change the registry that you use completely by specifying the environment variable for it, which I can't remember what the name is. It might be npm registry URL or something like that. So there is a way to change like the registry that you use, but yeah, you can't use private packages right now, and you can't use scoped packages at a different registry. But yeah, in the future we'd definitely like to add that.
Yeah, it is definitely something that we're looking into. And yeah, I think that is. I just looked through the chat. I think those are all the questions that that we could answer on the stream. Before we close the stream, let's just do something fun. And yeah, David, do you want to share anything fun that you're currently working on?
Yeah, I guess I should share my screen again. All right. Yeah, so I have this this Deno module, which Hashrock kindly did the logo for, and basically this is a way. Should add the version here. Oh, 15. Yeah, this is. I'll just show it in here. So this is a way to execute commands. Hash this. So yeah, you write shell scripts, and maybe you echo hello. And if I do Deno run, hello. So this I'm on a Windows right now. So say basically a way to run commands. So I can do Deno eval console.log 1+1. This is heavily inspired by this one library called ZX.
ZX.
Oh yeah, ZX. Sorry, I'm kidding.
ZX for Canadians. Yeah.
Yeah, ZX. And basically, you have this default import that you can get from DAX, this module here, and it can be a way to just run commands. So here I have like Deno eval, and then I say console.log 1+1, and as you can see here, it outputted 2. So this can be a way for you to replace shell scripts. So usually in shell scripts, yeah, you can express stuff this simply, but in Deno and Node, it's when you spawn a sub process, you kind of have to use, like, for example, in Deno, it's Deno run, and then you have to put like Deno, and then there's, oh, is this an array? Yeah, it's an array. So you have to do
Yeah.
Deno eval. Anyways, it can be like really long, and then you have to get this output and then like use it. Whereas here, you can just run stuff. And a nice thing about this is we can get this output. Let's get it as text, and just so shows the outputs. And then when I run that, I got the output of this command as text, and then I outputted it here. So this is, yeah, just basically just a module for like helping you to convert your shell scripts to Deno. And a great part about this, especially with npm specifiers, is it's just way more powerful than if you wrote this in a shell script. You can import whatever, yeah, like chalk, another. I guess I still have the import map, so I can just do that. Actually, I'll show it using this because I like the idea of this just being a single script that you execute, and then you can do chalk green for that. And there, now that I'll put it in green. So like Deno is just like I think a really great platform for scripting. And yeah, I'd encourage you to find any shell scripts you have, convert them to Deno. And this is also cross-platform. So even though I'm on Windows, like stuff in here, like if I do echo 1 and echo 2, that's going to work on Windows. There, I just did it. There's a new line because that's how that works. But anyways,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Just yeah, on your Windows machine, you're now writing Unix stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, this is like a cross-platform
Yep.
shell, so I can even I forget, there's like some cross-platform commands built in, like copy, move, and it all works on all operating systems the same way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll also drop a link to that in our in the comment section. And yeah, that's it. So hope you learned something from this. And I think there's still a few questions that we didn't get to, but I'll be sure that we'll answer that in some future thing or in the comments separately. But yeah, thanks for joining, and thanks, David, for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, see you, everyone. Ending the broadcast now.